Welcome to another edition of America's 250 Red, White, and You, where we are celebrating people in the Mid-South who are doing extraordinary things, making a difference in a variety of ways, whether it's giving back, whether it's, helping another person, cleaning up a community, you name it. We're trying to highlight those people just to show how great the Mid-South is as we celebrate America's 250th birthday. I'm joined now by one of those great people, Miss Thelma Rudd, who is the president of Taste of Aviation.
That's right.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for asking me to come.
We're glad you're here. So for all of the people who don't know, what is Taste of, are we talking about a food club? What are we doing, Taste of Aviation?
A lot of people ask that, and what it is actually we're a nonprofit organization, and we focus on aviation and aerospace. And what we do is that we bring what is called just a taste of aviation. Mm-hmm. That's it. We bring you a little bit, hopefully to introduce you to the fun and the love of aviation and aerospace. And then because we are connected with so many other aviation programs in the Memphis area and really all over the nation, that if you're really interested, then we can give you a handshake to those other organizations that have long-term relationships with, and that's what we do. We introduce a taste,
just
an appetizer.
A little appetizer. A little mozzarella stick.
And sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes that's all it takes.
So
yes.
How long has this been going on? How long
we have been established since it's 12 years this year, actually, wow. And I'm really, really excited. I was on the edge of my retirement as an en route air traffic controller. I worked at the Memphis Air Route Traffic Control Center since 1980, and I actually had the opportunity to show my age to go through the PATCO strike, the Professional Air Traffic Controllers Organization strike.
So you're
and
like
because
25
of
now.
that, that's about that age. And so because of that, and because I know how much I enjoyed aviation myself, being a lot of times the only female in the building, and just the fun, of aviation and air traffic controller, and you're in a busy state. And then it kind of slows down. So it gave me an opportunity to really know people that I might not have known otherwise, and to get to know aviation and aerospace. And I just fell in love with it so much. I thought I have got to share this with other people. So that's it.
So was the idea to introduce people who maybe wouldn't think about it? Because when you think about aviation, what's the most common thing people think about?
Pilots. And I love to say, air traffic controllers, we tell pilots where to go.
Yeah, so who's the real boss? Who's the real boss around here is what she's trying to tell
That's what I'm trying to say.
So I liken it a little bit to
all
TV.
These pilots.
When people think about TV, they think about reporters and anchors, but they don't think about all the behind the scenes. So is that what Taste of Aviation does, is introduce them to everything else?
Everything. And again, it's so much about aviation and aerospace here. Because just recently, again, because of Taste of Aviation, we partner with other organizations. And in September, we partnered with the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, the Tuskegee Airmen, and a lot of the other aviation organizations here with Wings Over the Branch. In a couple of years, we brought a young lady here, Sharon McDougall, who was actually a spacesuit technician. Oh, wow. And her claim to fame is that she actually put the suit on Mae Jemison when she went to outer space. Oh. So it's one of those things that is so exciting, you just never ever know who we could bring in, who comes, because it's such a vast field when you think about aviation and aerospace. In Memphis, I must say right now that the Memphis International Airport, there with the director now, Mr. Terry Blue, they have always been so supportive of everything that we've done in aviation and aerospace. That's why I really think that Memphis, one of the original Tuskegee Airmen, Luke Weathers, told me, he says that Memphis is very special, and I really think it is, and I'm really thankful myself for being a small part of that, a taste of that.
You're a taste of the taste.
And that's it. Really, really thankful for that myself.
So what age groups are we talking about for people who want to get involved?
Our Taste of Aviation signature program is called Saturday Flight School. Okay. And it's really about the planets. Saturday comes from the planet Saturn's day, and we kind of introduce that to the students. It's usually done on a Saturday, but it could be done on any day. Mm-hmm. We started out initially doing it with the younger groups, the age of 7, because most of the time people wait till age 13 to introduce kids, but we've done that young age of 7. And just recently in Atlanta and in Dallas, Georgia, we actually did a Saturday Flight School for grown folk, and I learned learned so much myself about the Atlanta International Airport. Found that they have 5 parallel runways that I had no idea myself. I'm from Atlanta originally and flying in out of Atlanta. So.
Well, most of our experiences in the Atlanta airport are not usually pleasant. And they're delayed and missed flights. So, I mean.
But safe.
But
That's
safe.
the most,
so you
the
found all
most
the good
important
stuff.
thing. That's right. Safety first. All the other stuff is, you'll get past it. But yes, safety first.
So what are some of the, we were talking off camera, what are some of the other areas of like employment when you're talking about aviation? Because again, people think pilots and flight attendants.
Pilots and I think one of the very first things is you got to think about creating the airplane itself.
Oh, yeah.
So somebody has to make the airplane. Yeah. Somebody has to come up with the sheet metal to make the airplane. Yeah. There's so much. Somebody, especially think about commercial and even cargo, someone has to design the aircraft depending on if this airplane's used for cargo, is it used for passengers? What color are we going to put on the airplane? What's the carpet going to look like? Yeah. All of those things. You have those flight inspectors, people that, initially you could just build an airplane and go fly. Ooh. So now that doesn't happen anymore, right? So you got to have people to inspect the airplane. You have to have people to make sure that the pilots have the correct medical and the air traffic controllers have the correct medical. So it's a lot. Whatever you name almost in any career, I'm sure aviation touches that. But let me say this, that Taste of Aviation, certainly we push aviation and aerospace, but my focus is really to try to share with people, especially young people and older people, to take the fear out of whatever you decide to do. Because so many people, I've talked to people about being an air traffic controller, and when I came, I was the only black female air traffic controller in Memphis for many years. We've got to not be afraid, because fear is what stops us from doing what we do. And I'm sure in your position, I'm sure a lot of people are like, ooh, I couldn't do that. I don't want to be in front of the camera.
That's true.
So we've got to deal with the fear of it. And my thing, certainly we would love you to think about aviation, aerospace, but flight nurse. You have people that have to be on, you're right, all of those things that is so important. And so my focus really is to ask people, young and old, to not be fearful of whatever it is that you may try to do.
Gotcha. Well, I've never been scared of TV, just so we're all clear. No question about it.
No question about that.
But I am scared of heights.
That's your person. Okay.
So I'm iffy about planes.
But you've flown a lot,
I
I'm
have
sure.
flown
Yes, of
and
course.
sweated a lot while flying. You mentioned something a couple of times, how you were one of the only black females in the building.
Right. In Memphis, in Memphis we have 3 levels of air traffic controller. You have the tower.
Okay.
So within your airport, most people think about. Yes. And in your tower, they handle the hard surface.
Okay.
So, and they're usually about 30 miles diameter around a radius of the airport, up to about 15,000 feet. So you got those people in the tower, and they're actually looking at a real airplane on the hard surface.
Gotcha.
And then you have the terminal radar approach controllers, which are still within the airport, but they're looking at the radar when the plane takes off of the runways, or if they're landing on the runways, they're taking care of that airspace within that diameter around the airport. And then you have what I worked as is the en route air traffic controllers. In fact, I worked in Memphis, but I was actually controlling airplanes in and out of the state of Arkansas.
That's scary.
It was beautiful. Fort Smith, Hot Springs. In fact, I had never heard of a Razorback until I started working airplanes in and out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I was like, what is a Razorback? So yes, and so we like to say, I must say, all my en route air traffic controllers here, that we like to say that they could shut the towers down, the airports down, and we could run it from the air traffic control centers ourselves. But I must say now, here in Memphis, because I'm a historian at heart, that here in Memphis, the first radar itself was actually at Memphis Airport.
Oh, wow.
Because initially it was no radar. You think there was no radar
how
initially when the
airplane.
airplane.
Guessing?
They were guessing. The pilots would give a report. And you'd have a flight strip, and based on where the pilot said he or she was or thought they were, you would give instructions based on where the pilots thought they were. And the first radar that we had was actually at Memphis International Airport, and then the controllers at the airport came, and then they taught the controllers at the center how to work radar. This was in the 1940s.
I'm telling you right now, you'd have had to pay me to fly if you're guessing how we're getting there. I'm dang sure not paying to play Russian roulette in the airplane.
I know. You think about technology, though.
Yeah,
technology has changed huge. In fact, the very first airplanes, the planes that the Wright brothers flew, was made out of wood and cloth.
Interesting.
Yeah, so technology's really changed, right?
That thing was falling apart in the air.
Right.
So why is it in your mind, I mean, you've created this organization to help introduce people to aviation. Mm-hmm. You have the history and the background in aviation. but you also have the history and background of being one of the few people of color and women of color
Right,
in that
yes.
building. So why is it so important to introduce that to our community in particular?
Well, when I'm from Atlanta originally, let me say that. So when I came to Memphis, and when I understood or recognized that Memphis is one of the rare air traffic control centers that's actually inside a city. Most of the air traffic control centers are usually outside of a major city itself. Like Atlanta is down in Hampton. Most of them are outside of the major city. And so for Memphis Air Route Traffic Control Center to be actually inside the city, and for Memphis to be a predominantly black city, I thought, wow, why is it that I don't see more people
for sure.
in the center here, working here? And a lot of it, I go back to this idea of fear. I think I've gone out and talked to so many schools, and the kids would say, I can't do that, I'm scared. And I'm trying to show you, look at me, if I could do it. I'm not a genius, but I'm pretty smart, I must say. I'm doing okay.
Doing all right.
All right. Went to Georgia Tech, I'm throwing that out there. But right, but yeah. So that's it really. I think to whom much is given, much is asked. So I do go out and mind you, we're open to everybody. It's not like we're looking for
100%.
we're opening it to everyone, and I'm really, really very thankful. One of the people that I learned about is a lady named Phoebe Omley, who the tower, air traffic control tower, is now named after.
Oh, wow.
She and her husband, Vernon Omley, came to Memphis in the 1930s, and they created one of the first airports in Memphis up in Woodstock. And so I worked with the Women in Aviation's group here several years ago, and we established a Phoebe Omley scholarship. In fact, if you go to the Pink Palace, well, the Mosh now is called, they have a lot of information there about Phoebe Omley, some of the trophies and things that she earned.
Yeah.
She was an early aviator. She had the first all-female federal group of all women. And what they were doing, and mind you again, this is before radar, and so the pilots would fly and they would mark the tops of barns, called barnstormers. They would actually put an identifier on the top of the barns.
Oh, wow.
And as people are flying, right, then you look to make sure this identifier is on this barn, so I must be right here. And so she and these women were the ones that were responsible for making sure that this marking was done
Actually,
properly.
very innovative. I mean, at the time,
It is, isn't it?
Making the best out of what you got.
That's right. That's
Barns
exactly
were
right.
important.
That's exactly right. There's no GPS there, so
I'm on barn number 2.
that's right.
So, if people want to get involved with Taste of Aviation, how do they do that? Whether they want to, I don't know, is it you donate or
Certainly,
volunteer or
yeah. We have our website is tasteofaviation.org, and again, we're always open to donations. Again, we work and we partner with, we have this thing here in Memphis called Team Memphis, and we work together with all the other aviation organizations, including, again, the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, the Memphis Chapter of Tuskegee Airmen, the National Black Coalition of Federal Aviation Employees, the Women in Aviation. We have a lot of groups. In fact, we like to say, if you call one of us, if you call Taste of Aviation, it's not just Taste of Aviation coming. Yeah. All of us are coming, and I'm really very thankful. Just recently, we did a thing, the National Tuskegee Airmen Day in Raleigh. One of the things I think that Taste of Aviation does that may be a little bit different than some of the other organizations, that we bring the airport and aviation into the community itself. And so we just did a big thing at the Raleigh Community Center, and we honored a Tuskegee Airman that's from Memphis named Staff Sergeant Leslie Edwards. He was born in, I think, 1924. They left Memphis early because his family thought it was really dangerous for them to be here. But he went on to become a B-25 aircraft technician. He was not a pilot, but he actually made sure that the airplanes were safe, which is really your first level of safety.
Very important.
It really is. That's right. That's right. So it was a huge thing there. We had an essay contest that we had students that won money, and they wrote some exceptional essays. Oh, I've been reading those, and I am so thankful. I think our future is wonderful. We have some really great kids that are thinking about their future, and I'm really very thankful to be a small part of that.
Awesome. So what's next for Taste of Aviation? Before I let you out of here,
yes.
What can people look forward to coming up next?
So next, this is exciting. So I have my children, my family, when I came to Memphis, they went to East High School. Okay. So I have 2 daughters that were the valedictorians at East High School. And then I had 2 sons that graduated, did exceptionally well, everybody on the honor roll. My grandson graduated from East, and my daughter-in-law graduated from East. And so through Taste of Aviation, we're offering a Langford Roberts Family Scholarship. Oh. So we're giving $1,500 to the valedictorian that's graduating from East High School, and there's an essay contest for students in the 9th through the 12th grade to talk about how important East High School is to them. So that's one thing I'm really, really excited about, again, because my East did a wonderful job for my children. Again, my daughters, they did MIT and Stanford. They've done exceptionally well, so we
I went
can't.
to a state school.
Well, you've done well still. I'm not saying anything wrong with the other schools, but my point, I really think that East High School provided that very, very well. So that's one of the things we're excited about. We also have the ACE Camp, Aviation Career Education Camp, coming up. I think it's June the 8th through the 12th. We'll be down at the Luke Weathers Flight Academy. You can get that information through obap.org. We've got the National Flight Academy. We've got Wings Over the Branch coming. So it's a lot of things.
So if they just go to your website, can they
go
see
to the
all this?
Yes.
All right.
Tasteofaviation.org. That's it.
Not a light schedule.
I know it. One of the things, I must share this. I'm a historian at heart. And for some reason, when I came to Memphis, again, I worked at the airport for a while and other places. And guys started sharing stuff with me. I'm kind of like the intermediary because I actually worked non-radar. We had to put the radar scope down and push a shrimp boat and those kinds of things. And so I have a lot of history that many of these men shared with me. And so because of that, I created this book called Beale Street Takes Flight. And again, it's because of the fact that the first air show took place in Memphis. And it's a book with just a lot of cute things about Memphis area aviation. And it's just really a fun book. And I'm really, really very thankful to have been able to archive this history that we really have a lot going on here. Between FedEx, you can't.
For sure.
But FedEx to be in Memphis, that's a huge thing. They started out in Little Rock,
That's a big thing, obviously, on the commercial side. On the cargo side, and Memphis International is continuing to grow and add flights.
And the economics that is brought here to Memphis. And it says a lot about Memphis, again, because they said that the first air show came here with Glenn Curtis, who was one of the earlier aircraft designers. And I don't know if you're aware of this. So, when the Wright brothers got the airplane off the ground, they went and filed a patent. Right. Okay. So trademark, I guess, patent, right? Yeah. Right. So they went to an attorney, right? So you're talking about aviation law now. So the Wright brothers went around the world filing lawsuits against anybody that took off the ground. All over, wherever you were on the planet, they wanted to be paid for it. And so Glenn Curtis, who was also an aviator, was in the Ohio area, came from, no, he didn't come from Ohio, but Glenn Curtis came and he refused to give money to the Wright brothers. So it's kind of an interesting dichotomy between the both of them. And right now, I think, when you go to Dayton, Ohio, there's now the Wright Curtis. I think when both guys died, the families got together, and now it's called the Glenn Curtis Wright. So eventually,
bury the hatchet.
That's it.
Everybody get off the ground these days.
But Curtis came here to the very first air show. He took his wife up in an airplane, and it was called the airplane Miss Memphis.
Well done.
Right. Yes.
Well,
yes.
You've given us a ton of information.
Thank you so much.
A ton of stuff for people to consider and think about. So I want to thank you, Ms. Thelma,
thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
And again, as we continue to highlight extraordinary people here in the Mid-South during our America's 250 Red, White, and You, this is a perfect example of how you could be getting involved. You can take part in these types of events and these types of organizations and help spread these great experiences all across the Mid-South. Again, that's going to do it for this version of America's 250 Red, White, and You. I'm Ruben Diaz.
Thank you.